Time frame, images of a generation. We grew up in a simpler time. We sang.
Say, kids, what time is it?
M-I-C-K-E-Y-M-O-U-S-E. We laughed.
Hello, boy.
I can't believe I ate that whole thing.
We cried.
President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
He's been shot. Lee Oswald has been shot.
We fought. We loved. We were attacked.
Japanese have attacked Pearl Harbor, Hawaii by air.
Our flag was still there. Now these memories come to life on posters that can be yours today. Go to howdyboomy.com for your copies today. That's howdyboomy.com. howdyboomy.com.
Welcome to the initial podcast on the video basis of the Howdy Boomy Show. The Howdy Boomy Show is dedicated to the website howdyboomy.com. That in turn is exclusively comprised of products and memories of the baby boomer generation. What is the baby boomer generation? Well, the American baby boomer is someone born between the years 1946 and 1964, which means roughly they are between 58 and 76 years old. I was born in 1947. I developed all the products on this website. They're exclusively on this website. They're unique. You can't get them anywhere else. And what I've created is a time capsule. Images of people, places, and events that formed the baby boomer generation, how they think, how they handle problems, and how we look at the world today. These podcasts are going to be on a daily basis. They're not going to be very long, 15 minutes or so. And we're going to discuss the products on it. On the website, howdyboomy.com, we're going to discuss the problems that we encountered as baby boomers growing up and how our experiences maybe help the current generation take on the problems that our nation currently faces, which sometimes seems that history is repeating itself. What do I mean by that? Right now, there's an embargo on Russian oil because of the war in the Ukraine. 60 years ago, there was an embargo on everything out of Cuba because of a little tidbit called the Cuban Missile Crisis. History does seem to repeat itself. Now for the website, howdyboomy.com. I'll show you what's on the website. The first thing you're going to see is the Howdy Boomy Show. That I will explain in a second. The second thing, as you go down the website, you're going to see Howdy Boomy Video. I will explain that in a second. The product list comprises of wall art. For example, the first product that I'd ever developed was this poster that you see here. It's 250 images of the baby boomer generation. There's 4 posters on the site. Each have a story. Each are images of certain periods of time, all unique, and each have an attached video, which I think should be shown in every history class in the country. They are amusing, entertaining, and extremely informative. Taking your first poster, let's go through a memory that changed the world. As I was a grammar school student, there was a gentleman running for president of the United States named John F. Kennedy. The current president, Dwight D. Eisenhower, looked like your grandfather. He was a World War II hero, very calm, collected. Now there was an energetic younger man, the first gentleman born in the century, the 1900s, that he was vying for the presidency. Young, dynamic, and Catholic, which was unusual at the time. You talk about biases. There weren't very many Catholics, and they held that against him. Being Catholic, you became excited, even at the young age. What happened was, my junior year in high school, I was at my grandmother's funeral breakfast, and a waitress came in and dropped a whole set of glasses on the table, began crying. It was a Friday. It was about 12:30. At that point in time, we learned, as did the entire world, that President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas. On this poster, you'll see images of JFK and his wife Jacqueline in Dallas, Texas. You'll see images of the booking photo of Lee Harvey Oswald, who shot JFK. You will see the booking photo of Jack Ruby, who shot Lee Harvey Oswald. You will see the classic photo of Jack Ruby shooting Lee Harvey Oswald. You will see the classic photo of JFK Jr. saluting his father's casket on the funeral procession on the Monday after the assassination. You will see the classic photo of Lyndon Baines Johnson taking the oath of office on Air Force One on the runway in Dallas, Texas. That event changed the world. That created TV news as we know it today. At that point in time, only thing Americans did, they went to church, they cried, and they watched television. 24/7. That created the constant viewership of TV news covering the assassination and the aftermath of JFK, November 22nd, 1963. JFK was a great proponent of civil rights. So here now you have Lyndon Johnson becoming president of the United States, realizing he is not as popular as JFK was, but he wants his programs to go on. He wants to be known as someone progressive, even though he was a deep Southerner, as JFK was. So he created something called the Great Society, which I believe began the cycle of the American government looking at a problem and rather find a solution to it, throw money at it. You know, there's this old saying, the politicians look at a problem. A Republican will try to solve it, and a Democrat, of which I am one, will try to find someone to blame it on. Well, JFK came out with programs to better those oppressed, civil rights, and his assassination made people worry that that wasn't going to keep on being under the Lyndon Baines Johnson administration. But he created the Great Society, which I believe began the dismantling of the family life of underprivileged Americans. What do I mean by that? I remember they threw money at a problem. What they did was they said, if you are on public assistance, we will give you an extra $92 a month for every child that you have. They began having many, many, many children, not looking at the effect of the family, the effect of the family unit. They were looking at an extra $92 a month. I believe that in itself was one of the main reasons the black family in America is now facing problems. Say what you want about Governor Andrew Cuomo in New York State. During one of his ads in his last campaign for governor, he had something that rang very, very true. Everything begins at the kitchen table. Everything begins at the kitchen table. And he began to wonder what the kitchen table looked like in the black community. In 1968, Martin Luther King was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee. I was a student at the University of Notre Dame, shooting pool on a Thursday night. When over the PA system on campus came the news that Martin Luther King was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee. On the poster, there are images of Dr. Martin Luther King. On the poster, there are images of his friends. On the balcony of the motel in Memphis where he was shot, pointing in the direction of where they believe the shots came from. On the poster is the booking photo of James Earl Ray, the accused killer of Martin Luther King. So since classes were suspended by the University of Notre Dame until further notice, and being a native of Chicago, I went home. Got home, I knew I was going to have a couple days off, went on the front porch, grabbed a beer, naturally, had a cigar, and looked southward. And over the south side of Chicago, there was this golden hue in the sky. The black community was burning down its neighborhood. They burned an area roughly 4 miles long, 6 blocks wide. You could probably go to areas today in Chicago where that has yet to be rebuilt. That was 60 years ago. George Floyd was killed by a Minneapolis police officer a couple of years ago. And again, the black community began burning their neighborhood, looting their stores. Minneapolis, St. Paul, Portland, Seattle. And I began to think, why? Haven't we learned anything since then? And I think the destruction of the black family has a lot to do with it. Remember, everything begins at the kitchen table. And can all the rage and injustice in the world be brought out by burning your own household? I don't think so. But there is a ray of hope. In Buffalo, New York, a teenager became indoctrinated in white supremacy via the internet. He looked up a store in Buffalo, New York, where he knew blacks and exclusively blacks would be shopping there, drove a couple 100 miles, and killed a dozen black people. Now you wonder what the kitchen table looked like in that family. How can your son become indoctrinated in white supremacy and you as a parent not realize it? But in Buffalo, they didn't burn anything down. The community came together. And in interviewing people in the black community, you saw that they knew everybody there was going to be a target from this guy, this idiot, because the black community is underserved via grocery stores, probably nationwide. That's probably because of prevalence of crime. And I have a suggestion. The community is wanting to get together a fitting tribute to the 12 souls that were lost on that day. Fountains, flowers, statues, that's nice. But to make a difference, to make a real difference, open a store. Open a store. The black community is underserved, probably nationwide. Open a store. Almost $7 million was raised in the Buffalo area, which was rightly distributed to victims, their families, anyone affected by the shooting. That could be a groundwork on fundraising to open a store. There are black executives on Wall Street, black executives in venture capital, black executives in the food industry, black executives in local banking, black politicians. Open a store. Find a block, find an area. Open a store. What's going to happen? You're going to realize the problems existing in that community, the problems that a grocery store faces. Unlike a McDonald's or unlike a computer chip manufacturer where the markup is 40, 50, or 60%, the markup on a grocery store is roughly 1 or 2%. So they have to be extremely cost conscious. And you know how costs can rise in a grocery store in a predominantly black neighborhood if they have to worry about crime. Open a store. Open a store for the black community. Fund it, staff it, overcome the problems that every store will, and you will do that. and you can make a shining tribute to those people who died on that day. Can imagine that. A successful store, a series of stores that can be then used nationwide as a tribute to those brave souls. Now, howdyboomy.com. The first thing you see on the website, the Great American Peanut Gallery. The website is going to be evolving into a new facet. Extremely exciting. This represents a larger version of a bumper sticker, the Howdy Boomy Store. You become an official member of the Great American Peanut Gallery, which reminisces Howdy Doody, by buying this bumper sticker for the cost of $19.68. Why $19.68? Because it represents one of the most traumatic years in U.S. history. Martin Luther King assassinated, JFK assassinated, the Democratic Convention in the city of Chicago, the election of Richard Nixon as President of the United States, riots throughout the country. For $19.68, you will receive the bumper sticker, and you will be part of the growth of this website. What's the website going to become? Further down in the website, underneath this first item that you see on the website, is something called the Howdy Boomy video. That is a video that is being shown to businesses around the country on what this website is going to become. It's going to become the biggest social network for Howdy Boomy people, for boomers, for healthcare, dating, banking, all the needs that a boomer has goes to this website and will get tremendous selection of services, goods, and meeting fellow boomers. Part of that is by getting the baby boomer card, which is right here. It's going to be an exciting time if you can join the Peanut Gallery and become part of the expansion of this website. Part of the reason for these podcasts will be giving you updates on how we're doing, what we're doing, and how every day the images and the posters that are on the website will bring back memories of what we're doing, what happened in those days, and how it can apply to today's world, as I just said about opening the store. Also, on this poster here, it was turned into a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle. If you have a baby boomer in your life, a person who likes jigsaw puzzles, this has 1,000 pieces, countless memories. They'll sit there and talk about this as they go along. You won't believe the stories that'll come out. So now you know the items that are on this website. There are 4 posters. We just went through one today. I'll go through all of them. Each poster has a story in itself. Each image has a story in itself, which will relate to the current situation and how the mistakes that we made as boomers maybe can help rectify what's going on in the world today. On this poster here are 3 of my favorite people who I itemized my life after: Mole, Larry, and Curly. There are 250 images, everything from food to music to history to candy to events. Everything that affected a baby boomer is on this website. On this poster, I looked at the 3 Stooges and I wondered, who could I put as a Stooge today? Who would you nominate as a 3 Stooge today? Well, being a native of Chicago and hating the Green Bay Packers, I would start with Aaron Rodgers. He must be a true Democrat. He is never at fault. He always tries to blame someone else for the shortcomings of the Green Bay Packers, not that he had ever had anything to do with it. And now he is the greatest quarterback, never had any problems, nothing is his fault. Everything that goes wrong with the Packers is somebody else's fault. And now he's dating all the women around the world, and he always breaks up with them. And that just goes to show that the only thing Aaron Rodgers will ever go home with consistently and be in love with is a mirror. How about our current president, Joe Biden? He becomes president of the United States by campaigning out of his cellar because the media attacked relentlessly Donald Trump and left him alone. He wasn't Donald Trump. That, I guess, was his biggest selling point. So he becomes president, closes the Keystone Pipeline, gasoline goes to over $4 a barrel, berates the oil companies, tells them in 7 years you're going to be out of business, tells the federal government, the Department of Treasury, not to loan money to oil companies because they're going to be out of business, but then realizes, wait a minute, we need gasoline. Hey, can you guys please drill some more so we can get more fuel? But my favorite is Prince Harry. Prince Harry, royalty. What is his claim to fame? I have no idea. All I know is his father was a prince, now King of England, impregnated Diana, became the mother. He was born. That's his claim to fame. His parents were royalty. Now, what you have to do is realize that there is tradition. As much as you may hate it, you have to respect it. But he has none. He met the Shantuzi to get married. Now all of a sudden, he's ripping the royal family apart. He looks like a cross between Opie from the Andy Griffith Show and Bozo the Clown. And the only way I could describe him, his actions and what he's done to the royal family, is basically he's a poster boy for the term thinking with the wrong head. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Every podcast is going to be as brief as I can make it, give you some philosophy, go through the boomer years, how they can apply to help the current residents of this great country, and realize that, you know, the United States isn't to blame for every problem in the world, as the current president seems to believe. We're the solution. We're the greatest country in the world. Maybe tomorrow I'll take on the thing with the police, because on this poster is images from the 1968 Democratic Convention in Chicago, of which I attended. I'll tell you some stories about police there. And since police are in the news all the time now, for the wrong reason. Oh, by the way, have you ever listened to any rap song lyrics? That's interesting. We'll discuss that at a future date. Thanks for watching. Enjoy Howdy Boomy with the website. Take a look at all the videos. Take a look at the products. Join the Peanut Gallery. Buy a product for your favorite baby boomer. God bless you, and God bless America.